Let's talk about that and more with financial expert Alexis Glick. She's also the CEO of Gen Youth, a nonprofit group that helps support young people across the country. She's just released a report on how COVID-19 is affecting teens. We'll talk about that in a moment. Alexis, welcome back, though, and help us give some context to those numbers, where things are at in the economy right now.
Well, it's wonderful to be back with you guys, and it is sobering, as you mentioned. We still are seeing weekly claims north of 1 million, and right now we're nearing almost 50 million people who have filed for weekly jobless claims in the past 14 weeks. If you look specifically at those who are continuing to receive benefits, it is just shy of 20 million, but add to that the pandemic unemployment assistance, which is for contract workers, that's about another 11 million. So as we sit here today, just north of 30 million Americans are receiving some kind of unemployment benefits or assistance. And as I think you both know very well, the real concern is that those unemployment benefits that were put into, that were signed into law go into effect only through the end of July. And the Paycheck Protection Program, which was to help small businesses keep folks employed, is now nearing the end of its term as well. So fears are that as those dollars begin to dwindle, that the unemployment rate will continue to tick up as opposed to go down if we don't get people back to work, see demand rise in the economy, and open up.
And just because things are opening up, they're not opening up like normal. Say a restaurant opens up at 25, 50% of capacity. That means 50% of their employees are not working, even though some of their colleagues are. What's your advice to people in that situation who maybe see that their business is reopening, but they're not included in that reopening? You just hit the nail on the head. That is truly the problem right now, is that given what we're trying to do, which is social distance, right, at 6 feet, you're seeing capacity levels, particularly in restaurants, as you referenced, at a fraction of what they were before. We've seen a bunch of small business surveys come out in the wake of the results in May, right? The federal government has said that we believe as many as 2.5 million jobs were created because of the Paycheck Protection Program or brought back in the month of May. The problem is that we are not anywhere near capacity. And in the fits and starts that we're seeing in governments, I mean, you see this, whether it's California, Texas, what's happening in Florida, and many states across the nation, there is growing concern right now about the ability to reopen as normal. And so what that means is we're exacerbating the pain. And my fear right now is that unless the government starts preparing for a new wave, whether that is a new check or a real deferral in unemployment claims where we may push it back into 2021, we may not have what we need to keep the economy strong enough to get through this. So I think we're going to see another wave of stimulus pretty soon, because we just won't be able to maintain any degree of normalcy if we don't. Yeah, and of course all this happens in the middle of an election year too, and that's top of mind for the politicians that are making these policies. All right, let's talk about your research for a moment. What did you find in the research that you've published on teens and coronavirus? We want to sort of walk us through it.
Yeah, so as you know, part of what I do is economic work, but the other part of what I do is work with students, and we actually support as many as 38 million kids across the United States with Gen Youth and our programs in school buildings. We did a survey with just north of 1,000 kids. We called it Life Disrupted, the impact of COVID-19 on teens. And what we did was just assess, what is it doing to their lives? What are they missing out on? And some of the statistics and data and polling was pretty staggering. Number one, students across the board, they're missing out on milestone moments, whether it's friendships, whether it's plans for the summer, whether it's opportunity in terms of their education. But one of the most staggering pieces is what you see there on the right, which is the familiar well-being. And that is, how is my family coping financially?
Can they pay the bills? Will they remain employed? Will we be able to have enough food on the table? It demonstrates that this is a real big issue for kids. But what we're also seeing is we've said to kids, what do you need more clarity around? What would give you greater comfort? And one of the most shocking things about the data and the results that we saw is kids are saying, we want to know that the government is actually giving us the straight facts. That in fact, from their words, a sense that the government knows what it is doing and is in control of the situation. That was only third behind, give us some clarity as to what the school year is going to look like in the fall and help us understand, when is this pandemic going to end? So what we're seeing among teens right now is a fair amount of stress. Their lives have been turned upside down. And right now, they just don't have a lot of stability.
If I could put a Lakota on that, we are seeing massive increase in parents complaining and concerned with kids manifesting depression and anxiety. And I can tell you, I have kids that are in their mid to late 20s that I interact with all the time. They are experiencing virtually all the things you saw there on that bar graph, plus profound employment concerns.
Yeah. All right. Important conversation. Alexis, thank you for the good work that you do. See the full report on how COVID-19 is affecting young people. Go to genyouthnow.org. We'll be right back.